Hello everyone and welcome to yet another video from round 12 from the Title Chess Tournament in Vikensee, the Netherlands. In this video we'll have a look at the game between Vidit and Mamedyarov. Now both players were having a fairly good event. Vidit was on +1, he had been in the lead earlier, Shaq on +2. But anyway, let's have a look at how this game was going to go. Anyway, Vidit opened up with the move 1e4. Now Vidit always had been a d4 player traditionally, but he's also added e4 to his repertoire. Shaq playing solid and playing e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. And we get a classic Italian or Gucci piano. Right, c3, knight f6. Now d4 had always been the move traditionally, but these days the top players prefer d3, keeping the game very slow. d6 by Shaq, castles in h6. Make sure there's never any bishop g5 shenanigans. Rook e1, castles, knight bd2. Shaq goes bishop b6, and after h3 he goes knight e7. This is a classic maneuver. In the Italian game, black wants to move his knight to g6, where it's a bit more flexible, and then he can also play c6 and d5 to play in the center. So Vidit goes d4 right away and wants to create a big center. And here a very surprising move by Shaq. He goes knight c6. Now, didn't the knight just come from c6? Well, I mean, it just did, but after the move d4, there's a lot more tension in the center, and he's attacking this pawn right away. And white doesn't really want to play d5, because now this bishop on b6 becomes very strong. Black's going to play knight e7, and he can attack the center later on with c6, or move this knight away, let's say to h7, and then play for counterplay with f5. So, Vd goes a4, and there's many lines where he can try to trap the bishop with a5. So Shaq trades on d4, and goes d5. Right, so now he's forcing Vidit to take, and Vidit now all of a sudden has an isolated pawn on d4. But in return of that, Vidit has quite an active position. He goes b3, bishop e6, and now knight e4, centralizing the knight. Rook e8, bishop b2, and after knight a5 he goes knight e5. So Vidit has pretty active pieces here. The one thing that was a bit worrisome for Vidit was the fact that he was consuming a lot of time, and he was already getting pretty low on the clock. I think around this point he had around like 30 minutes. So Shaq goes c6, stabilizing the position in the center, queen f3 and f6. Now here, as Hikaru and I were doing broadcast or commentary or whatever you want to call it, we thought a knight g4 was the move, because white always has a lot of sacrifices. But the thing is that would have been pretty complicated to calculate all of that. So Vidit just played the move knight to d3. Also pretty logical, he wants to hop with one of his knights to c5. Anyway, Shaq goes bishop f7, dodging a potential knight c5 jump, and Vidit goes rook e2, bishop c7, and rook ae1, activating the last two pieces in the game. And after b6, he played bishop c1. So once again, he's looking at all sorts of sacrifices on this side of the board, which is why Shaq goes knight e6, to make sure f6 is always protected. Vidit goes bishop d2, hitting the knight. And now Shaq trades on c4 and goes knight e6. But this allowed a nice sacrifice. Vidit played bishop takes h6. Now you can't really take the bishop, because if you take, there comes knight takes f6. If you move the king, white is just going to take the rook. And white's not even down material, and he just has a crushing attack. So Shaq realized he couldn't do that, but instead of that he took on d4. And here Vidit should have played bishop f4, hitting the bishop. And after something like trade, he still has a pretty active position, but Shaq probably would have played rook e5, and white might be a bit better, because he's very active, but it's all very, very complicated. Anyway, Vidit here made the horrendous blunder. He played queen to g4, and Shaq looked at him like, wait, what is this, buddy? And he played f5. And suddenly white's in a fork. The knight's under attack, the queen is under attack, and with this move f5, black's also opening up the defense for the queen to the g7 pawn. So white is simply lost here. He's simply losing a piece. So, I mean, quite a tragic blunder for Vidit, but there was simply nothing to be done here. He took on g7, but Shaq just recaptured, and after takes, we're in an endgame and white's down a piece, so that is not good news. Vidit played knight at g5, but after takes, Shaq just played knight g6, and if we do a quick count, we see that black has 1, 2, 3 minor pieces, white is 1, 2, so white is just completely lost. Knight e6 check, Shaq just took and rook d8, rook c6, and bishop e8. Now if you move this knight, there's going to be rook d1 checkmate, so the only move is knight e1. Knight e5, rook e6, king f7 by Shakhriyar, rook h6, rook d1. So white has to go king f1 to defend the knight. And once again, it was quite tragic. During the broadcast, Vidit was clearly unhappy about what happened. But we've all been there. Losing a chess is very, very tough. Shaq just took another pawn, and after rook h4, he played the very nice knight e3 check. And now white has a problem. If he goes king e2, black's going to take an e1, and if you recapture, there's knight g2 with a fork, and black wins. And if you take the knight, now comes bishop g3, hitting the rook and hitting the knight, and you actually attack the knight with checkmate. So let's say white goes here, you go king g6, and after king e2, white is simply losing all of his pieces. So after knight e3, Vidit resigned. A very, very tough loss for Vidit, who is now back to 50%. He was up to +2 earlier, and a nice win for Shakhriyar, which puts him in +3. He's out of contention for first place because he's 1 point behind Magnus, and Magnus gets an automatic win tomorrow against Dubov, but still a very good tournament for him. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.